Hi, hello, it's Nikki and welcome to my messy bookshelf. Today I'm here with a tag video. I am here with the seriously well read tag. This was a tag that was created by my friend Randy Ray at the Literate Texan to commemorate his new book club called the Seriously Well Read Book Club. And I was tagged by Randy Ray, and these questions really made me think. So I'm excited to get into this one. So the first question is, what book made you take reading seriously? And I thought about, featuring some highbrow classic novel, but that's not what I'm going to do here. So for the first one, I will be mentioning a children's book, and the reason is very obvious to me. And that book is The Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White, a book I have talked about a number of times on my channel, to the point where my daughter even made fun of me for talking about it so much and filmed a fake booktube video. So this book is the first book that I read in elementary school that I could not stand leaving the book at school because we weren't allowed to bring the books home. I wanted my own copy of this book, and a family member actually, because I wanted it so badly, took me to buy the book, and I finished the book on my own. This book transported me. This is the book that made me realize that I was a reader. I was a reader. I always enjoyed story time, but after this book, I realized I wanted the books. I wanted all the books, and I wanted to read all the books. So this book, it's a core memory for me. I love it still. And yes, my daughter is currently laughing because she knows that I love this book, but she loved it too when we read it together. So I liked it. Yes, you did. Okay. So, Trumpet of the Swan by E.B. White. Question 1. All right, that is the last children's book I will be talking about. The next question is, what book did you pretend to understand? Be honest. So I think for this one, I don't think that there's ever been a time where I pretended to understand a book. I think I'm usually pretty transparent in saying that I don't get a book. I don't get it. I don't know what all the fuss is about. I think the closest I could come to that is another book I've mentioned before on my channel, and that is Wuthering Heights. So when I read this book, I hated it. And I think the reason I hated it was because I thought that I got it and I just hated all the characters. And I think now, like over a decade later, I realize we're not meant to like the characters in this book. So I think maybe I thought I understood this book and I didn't, but I don't think that I ever pretended to understand a book, if that makes sense. But yeah, I guess, yeah, this would be the closest to pretending to understand. The next question is, which 3 books are on your personal required reading list? And one of the books is a new favorite of mine, and you will see that in a moment. So the books I have chosen are for a reason. So the first one I have is Pride and Prejudice. This one is one of the first classics that I ever read and actually enjoyed, like really enjoyed it. And it's a slice of life, a look at a slice of life, but it's so much more than that as well. It is a romance, it is, a commentary on the social lives of these people who were living back then, but it is so much more than that, and I adored this book. So I would choose that one. And then just to give some variety, I also chose Dracula, because for people, when they're wanting to be well read, sometimes I think a lot of people can be intimidated by the quote unquote great books. And I think that having a variety to choose from helps people to be more motivated to read more. So I would choose Dracula, one of my favorites. And then the most recent one that I have read, which is now up there with my all-time favorite books, and that is The Count of Monte Cristo, an epic story of adventure and revenge. So we have a gothic, spooky story, we have an epic adventure, and we have a love story. So what more could you need to get yourself into reading? So I think that that would be my required reading for anyone who's looking to get into reading. The next question is, what author have you been avoiding? I don't know that I'm specifically avoiding an author. I would say I have been avoiding reading Toni Morrison a little bit. I have Beloved on my shelf, and I just know that it's going to gut me. So I've been avoiding it so far, but I do plan to get to her books, specifically Beloved, but when the time is right, when I am in the right headspace for that. So, but not really avoiding. So maybe David Foster Wallace, I just have never been interested in reading Infinite Jest, so maybe him. But yeah, I don't think that I'm ever actively avoiding an author. I'm more avoiding the books themselves. So moving on. Number 5 is, what's the hardest book you've ever finished? For this one, I actually talked about this one in my 5 hardest books that I've read, and that is Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. And I don't think I was ready for this one. I don't think I was ready, and I thought I was at the time. And I think the translation that I have is also probably part of the problem. So I just didn't understand anything that was going on. I didn't care about what was going on, and I was frustrated. Like, why are they doing this? Why? What is he even talking about? So I think that I would like to revisit it in a different translation, and also because this specific version is missing whole big chunks of the text. So you'll be reading and then just ... and then more dots, and then it'll pick up with a couple of words in here. So I wish I could find, I should have probably tried to show this, but yeah, it's just very difficult. You can see there's missing parts everywhere. So yeah, that was very difficult, but I made it through. I appreciate it for what it is, but I would like to revisit it with more mature eyes, with a better translation that is not missing so much of the text. All right, what's the next question? Number 6, what's a book that changed how you read? And actually, I already talked about it. And this is Pride and Prejudice. This was one of the first classics. I would say this is probably the first classic that I read for pleasure, like straight pleasure. It wasn't an assigned reading or anything like that. I read this, it made me laugh, it made me think, and I thought, this is why people want to read the great books. So it really gave me a new perspective on, you know, the greatest books ever written, you know. So Pride and Prejudice, and it gave me the courage to go on to other books that I was intimidated by in the past. So moving on. Number 7, quality versus quantity. Would you rather read 100 good books in a year or 10 great books? My initial reaction was to say 10 great books, but then I feel like the question implies that if I read 10 great books, I'm not reading anything else, or I'm just reading bad books in between the 10 great books, and that would be horrible. So I think I'm gonna go with 100 good books, because at least they're good. and there's plenty of them. So 100 good books. The next question is, which genre are you embarrassed to say that you have not read? And I think the answer to that one for me is obvious. It's poetry. I am very new to poetry, and I get frustrated because sometimes I don't understand what the point of certain poems is. And that is something that I am actively working on, and it is my goal to read more poetry. So, poetry, yes. And I am embarrassed. I know a lot of people were saying they're not embarrassed about not reading specific genres, but for me, I am a little embarrassed that I have never cared for poetry very much, and I would like to remedy that. The next book, or the next prompt is, which book do you think most people misread? Hands down, I would say the Bible. The Bible. The sheer amount of atrocities that have been committed throughout history based on someone's interpretation of the Bible. And for me, the Bible really boils down to love your neighbor, love God, and love yourself. So I think that people use it and twist it and commit all kinds of horrific acts and treat whole groups of people certain ways based on what they believe the Bible to say. And that is not my interpretation of the Bible. So definitely the Bible. The last question says, what does seriously well-read mean to you? And I think this is kind of a difficult question to answer. It's very subjective, I think. But for me, I think being seriously well-read means reading a variety of genres, not being stuck into the same narrow little funnel of what you are interested in. Someone who only reads literary fiction or someone who only reads classics. I think reading across a variety of genres, reading from a variety of different authors from different walks of life, reading from different countries, and I think kind of the most important for me, I think, is keeping an open mind and being willing and able to read books from authors with differing viewpoints from yourself, because I think that a lot of times readers get stuck in reading the same books and reading the same viewpoints and never making an effort to understand other people's points of view. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. And being willing to read, the really famous, important books, if you will, but also being willing to read, the popcorn thrillers and, just a wide variety of books, and not being a book snob. But those are the questions. I think that Randy came up with a bunch of awesome questions here, and I also hope that Randy is feeling better. I will tag a couple of people below, and yeah, I thank you if you made it to the end of this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.